We're looking at homework from section 2.4. This is question number 16. The amount of caffeine in a sample of 5-ounce servings of brewed coffee is shown in the histogram. Make a frequency distribution for the data, then use the table to estimate the sample mean and the sample standard deviation of the data. Complete the table, round values to the nearest tenth as needed. So we're given a table that lists the midpoints, and we're supposed to fill in the frequency, and then x times the frequency, where x are our midpoints. So the frequencies are given to us in the histogram. They're at the top of each bar. So the frequencies are 3, 11, 27, 6, and 3. Then we multiply each of the midpoints times those frequencies. So 3 times 70.5 is 211.5. 11 times 92.5 is 1017.5. 27 times 114.5 is 3091.5. 6 times 136.5 is 819. And 3 times 158.5 is 475.5. So that's your table rounded to the nearest tenth. Next, we want to find the mean of the data set and round to the nearest tenth. So we've already got this table, and we can apply the formula that the x bar is equal to the sum of x times f divided by the sum of f. So we need to add up our frequencies, which add up to 50, and the x times f values, which add up to 5,615. So x bar will be 5,615 divided by 50, and when we divide that, we get 112.3. So that's the answer to the second question, the mean of the data set, 112.3. Next, we're asked to complete another table. This time we have the midpoint with the deviations, the squares of the deviations, and then the squares of the deviations times the frequencies. So we find our deviations by subtracting the mean, which is 112.3, from each one of these midpoints. So 70.5 minus 112.3 is negative 41.8. 92.5 minus 112.3 is negative 19.8. 114.5 minus 112.3 is 2.2. 136.5 minus 112.3 is 24.2. And 158.5 minus 112.3 is 46.2. Now we have to take each one of these deviations and square it. We get 1747.24, 392.04, 4.84, 585.64, and 2134.44. Then we multiply each of these times the frequency. We can still see the frequencies in the histograms above. So when the midpoint's 70.5, the frequency is 3. 3 times 1747.24 is 5241.72. 11 times 392.04 is 4312.44. 27 times 4.84 is 130.68. 6 times 585.64 is 3513.84. And then 2134.44 times 3 is 6403.32. So those are our x minus x bar squareds times f. We're also asked to find the sum of those, and if we add those all up, we get 19,602. The next question asks us to find the sample standard deviation of the dataset and round to the nearest hundredth as needed. Well, we have a formula for the sample standard deviation that relies on the values that we found previously. The sum of the x minus x bar squareds times f we just found was equal to 19,602. We also need to know the value of lowercase n, which was 50. So, the formula for the standard deviation is the square root of the sum of the x minus x bar squareds times f divided by lowercase n minus 1. So that's going to be the square root of 19,602 over 49. When we plug that into our calculator, we get 20.0010203, and so on, which rounds to 2 decimal places as 20.00. So that's your sample standard deviation, and that's your answer.